CP Quad. So I wanted to share with you guys what my machine learning journey has been like so far. My screen is all up. Um, it's been interesting to say the least. Uh, so uh, so I've been trying to pick up machine learning, and one of the first projects that I started was the image or facial recognition. I don't even care. It's not necessarily. I think actually I do care. I do want to do facial recognition. I have some ideas of some things I want to do. I have some ideas of some things I want to do, but before I can do anything in machine learning, I got to understand machine learning, right? So, from that perspective, I don't care facial recognition, image, whatever. Um, well, I guess this facial recognition is image recognition, right? You can. I guess it's the same thing, right? Um, so, for example, you could identify someone's face in a picture, right? So it's like, that face is the same as this face, it's the same person. Then I take a picture of the Brooklyn Bridge, and it's like, hey, that's the Brooklyn Bridge. But I think essentially we're basically talking about the same thing, right? But regardless of the application, I just want to do something with image scanning, image processing, or whatever. But again, specifically, I do have a goal of doing um, what do you call it? Of doing facial recognition. So that's from the project side of things. Then there is the I don't know how you want to call it. I guess that will be the practical, I guess, side of things as opposed to theory. Um, because the project would be an opportunity to practice this new skill set that I'm learning. But I guess the theoretical side of things, learning the theory, that side has been a little bit interesting to say the least. 1 second. Got home for my hot date. I'm just getting my what do you call it? Getting into my sleepwear. I'm about to call it a night. I am tempted, as usual, with my normal aggressive, motivated, whatever, to go get on the computer and go do some machine learning stuff. But I'm trying to be smart, and rather than doing that, I am actually going to go to bed. Now, as for what I do before bed, I'm not sure. I might actually look at some machine learning stuff in terms of reading, and that's actually what I wanted to talk about. So, I got this machine learning ebook, and I guess this video should have really been like I forgot the name of that. There's that it's like almost like a podcast service where I could do an audio only, and I can post to YouTube as well. I forgot the name of it, but anyway, regardless, the point is that I can communicate with you guys what's going on, and that's what's happening. Doesn't matter. You don't need to see my ugly face. Anyway, so I've been struggling with the theory. So actually sitting and reading. Now, something interesting for you to understand or consider is that I'm not very big on um, well, I don't read nonfiction. I mean, oh my goodness, I don't read fiction, right? I don't read fiction. I only read nonfiction. Reading is something I do to acquire knowledge. not for leisure or whatever. So I don't care how good of a story it is. It could be something that is what do you call it? Like maybe my favorite movie or just whatever it is that would normally interest me. I do not care. Do not care if it's just for entertainment purposes. Then I want to see video, sound effects, explosions. It doesn't have to be explosions, but I just need a lot of stuff going on. Otherwise, I get bored really quick. Now, that being said, that's actually an interesting concept because now that I think about it, I feel like something. Wow, I might be actually discovering something about myself, about how my mind works. Um, yeah, so I only read to acquire knowledge, right? If it's something where it's a story, I get bored and I have to keep rereading. I gotta keep rereading the same thing over and over again, right? So I can't get anywhere because I will take forever, right? If I'm gonna take an hour on one page or two, I'll never get through any books, right? Um, that being said, I'm struggling with this machine learning stuff. Not that the machine learning is difficult, and I think I understand why I'm struggling. Wow, I honestly feel like I am discovering something new about, not that it's a new thing, but something about myself that I didn't previously understand. That it's finally making sense to me. I really honestly believe that the reason why I'm having trouble with the machine learning reading that I'm doing is closely related to the issues that I've been having with reading fiction, right? So if you think about the way that I think, um, I've always understood that my issue with reading fiction versus reading something that's nonfiction is, again, I read to acquire knowledge. I see we got somebody listening in. How you doing? Whoever that is. I read to acquire knowledge, right? So I will pick up a book, trying to learn some new skill, right? There's a purpose, right? I wanna be able to. It doesn't really matter what it is. I'll read about a ton of things that I wanna learn and understand. So I wanna be able to. Well, look, I work on all my motorcycles. I've worked on my cars as well. So I wanna be able to fix my car myself, right? Or I wanna understand how it works, right? So I'll go and I'll get a car book, right? And I'll read it and I'll go through it and I'll acquire the knowledge. I will utilize the knowledge, right? Everything's good to go. But what am I getting out of reading a novel, right? For me personally, it's like you see, there's a disconnect. Again, with the car book, I wanted to learn to fix my car, so I need to get the book to get the knowledge. I get the book, get the knowledge, fix the car, right? That all makes sense. I have the motivation to go through the book. But a novel, and I know you could say same thing with watching a movie. Why would you watch a movie? What do you get out of that? But somehow there's so much more, you know, just so much going on, the music and the sound and all this kind of stuff that it keeps me entertained and engaged. But I can't just sit down and all I'm getting is the story. Literally just the story. I need the multimedia to go with it. Otherwise, I just lose interest. So now let's look at me with machine learning. Um, when I'm reading machine learning, I guess you could say to yourself, well, aren't you trying to pick up these skills so that you can, because you have a project and you want to learn machine learning, you want to have that skill set and you want to do the image recognition. Isn't that the point? Here's the thing though. I don't I don't necessarily need to read the book that I'm reading to understand the ins and outs of machine learning to do to create what I'm trying to create. Like ultimately, again, let's go back to the simple, I'm there's something that I'm looking for. I'm trying to achieve something. I want to there's a result that I'm looking for, right? Um so in order to get that result, I need to do a certain thing, right? However, I don't need to read this book to be able to build an image recognition program. I'm already starting to do it already, and I started doing this before I started reading the book. Um, so I think, and this could maybe be a result of because I've always been self-taught. So it's been a long, wow. It's been a long time since I've actually been in some kind of program, right? Some kind of a program where, um, you're going through. Here's the thing: you gotta understand the majority of the majority of the things that I have learned, right? I've learned them from a very, very extremely practical standpoint, right? So let's get back to the car deal, right? If I want to work on my transmission, I'll get a book about car transmissions, right? And I'll read transmissions, I'll fix a transmission, and I'll move on. Now, that's extremely practical as opposed to the way things work in school. In school, you're not, generally not going to just learn about transmissions. They've got to give you a good foundation so you have the flexibility and options to go in different directions, right? So for example, if I take a machine learning course, a good machine learning course is going to teach me all the fundamentals of machine learning so that I can then decide what direction that I want to take, right? So that means there's going to be a lot of knowledge, a lot of information that you don't necessarily need. So keep in mind, I've been extremely focused in my learning. I learn for a reason. There's a specific objective I'm trying to achieve. I have avoided for decades, right? Because I haven't had this system since probably um, just a little bit after high school, and because I was in the military, so there was some learning there as well. I have not in decades, learned a bunch of useless information that's not relevant to a specific task. Um, and now that I'm reading about machine learning, a lot of the stuff that I'm reading, I don't need to know, right? It's talking about neural networks and these different algorithms and how they um there's like certain levels of I don't know, bias is the word, where so like here's a concept I'm reading about. So I'm reading about a concept where so you have these nodes in a neural network where um they will assess data, right? And based on the results of the assessment, and there's this process called classification. So let's say I'm using machine learning to figure out what a picture is. Is this a car? Is this a person? Like what's in this image, right? So you process the pixels and you look at it and you see the probability is very high based on this data that I'm seeing here, these pixel data, that this is probably a car, right? And then there's a whole learning process of, you know, uh, sometimes it may make mistakes. And then it's like, okay, so uh, this data pointed to probability that it's probably a car. I classified it as a car, but it actually wasn't a car. So I need to now learn that even though there's certain things that usually is a car, there's certain deviations from that data set that's actually not a car. So something that's similar to a car but not a car. Now I'm aware of that. So the next time around, when this sort of shape is seen, it's like the program will now be aware that, yes, high probability this is a car, but based on certain factors that is unique to this object that's sort of a car but not really a car, I'm going to classify it as not a car. Right? So the bottom line is it learns from its mistakes. Um, but it's just the bottom line is there's a lot of extraneous details that I don't really need to be able to build what I'm trying to build. And that is a very foreign concept to me. I don't learn a lot of things that I'm not going to use specifically. So I'm just like reading this stuff. It's not a difficulty level. It's not that I'm having trouble understanding the concepts. It's a bunch of useless, you know what I mean? Like, I just feel like I'm just reading a bunch of words. Like, let me read some of this stuff. Yeah. I'm gonna read some of this stuff. So I'm using what do you call it? I'm using Kindle. So the Kindle app on the iPad. So so this is what I'm reading. Okay. See, I think that's what it is. I don't see a specific application to what I'm reading right now. Don't get me wrong, this information is all good. The more I understand about machine learning concepts, and that's why they teach you this stuff in school, right? Um, yes, I can learn specific information for a specific task, but I'm not. I'm gonna be. There's gonna be a sort of a disadvantage. Like you're limiting yourself. Like you only know what you need to know to do a certain task. So you lack the comprehension of what it is that you're doing, right? So it's the equivalent of a very isolated scenario where someone needs to get from one place to the next and they want to do it in a car, but they don't know how to drive a car. Um, but the distance is very short. It's like 1,000 feet in a straight line, right? So they can focus on operation of the gas pedal, right? So you push the gas pedal down, the car accelerates and moves forward, right? They don't know about steering. They don't know about changing the gears, you know, um, all this other stuff they don't know about. But they don't really need to, right? All they want to do is travel 1,000 feet in a straight line. So just understanding how the gas pedal works is cool. However, let's say that the car starts to actually go off the road because you only know about the gas pedal, then you might end up crashing or having a problem, right? Because you only know a specific thing, right? All you know about the car is the specific thing of you push the pedal down. Like that's what I've been doing, right? I learn specific to the task. Um, so I don't know if this is even a term, but it's like if this is not a term, I'm making it up. It's like task oriented learning. I gotta Google that, see if that's a real thing or not. That's what I've been doing. Anyway, so this is what I'm reading. That I'm just like, oh, what am I? What is this like? Um, Old man eyes. I can't even see. I gotta. I can't see too close. I gotta push it away. Main architecture. This area of machine learning is characterized by a system that works on more than one layer. Each layer is capable of receiving input from the one before it. With input received on each layer, the data is transformed, giving more insight to the machine. I think one of the issues I'm having as well is I don't like the way this is written. So I think I'm one of the big problems I'm having is I'm disconnected from the knowledge. I really feel like I would be learning better with, interesting enough, a video presentation. It's funny, like I produce videos which are in alignment with the way that I prefer to learn myself. And this is probably, I'm pretty sure it's a long time now I started doing videos, but it's probably things like this is why I created my videos. I would much rather this done in on a video format that's, that is has some sort of meaning. Like it's just, to me, I'm just reading a bunch of words. Input receive layer, the data is transformed, giving more insight to the machine. Therefore, the machine doesn't just learn with each problem it gives, but it learns on each layer of data as it passes through the system. So, I mean, one concept that I've definitely been picking up in terms of the way the neural network works is, and I haven't heard these words being used. So I don't know if the reason why these words are not being used because they don't really apply. But this is my understanding. This is the way I'm seeing things. The way that I'm seeing the neural networks that I'm learning about, it really seems to be highly probability based. Because it seems like, so you have these layers of nodes, right? So it's almost like the whole structure is the process of elimination. That's what it seems to be. So, I want to, like, let me create an sort of abstract algorithm. So, okay, so we want to figure out you want to figure out where I am right now, right? So in the first node or the first layer, right? So we're gonna process, like you're looking at the image in this video right now, right? So you're gonna process all the pixels in this image, right? And take that data and make an assessment on it, right? Remember, it's probability. So based on the colors in this image, there is no blue, there is no, like, you know what I mean? So um, probability in terms of where, like, let's use some basic stuff. So obviously I'm not outside, right? Because you don't see any of the data that you'd have from outside, the colors and textures and patterns. So I'm not outside. Um, I'm probably not in a store, right? Because you see the curtain and the wall, the texture of the wall, right? So to me, each layer of the node, there's sort of a probability assessment of what this could be, right? And then you go to the next layer and you do, I would guess, I don't know if you're reassessing it based on the same criteria. I would presume that each layer you're you're probably just filtering it down more and more, right? Like the first layer, I could eliminate the negatives, right? So where am I not? Definitely not at the beach, definitely not at this, none of that, none of that. It's all the negatives, right? And then you have a list of all the places that I could possibly be. Because this could be a store, right? You have curtains in stores, you have walls in stores. So I could be inside of a store, right? So but basically every layer, I think that's all you're doing. You start with the, I think the first layer, you start with the greatest number of possibilities of what the image could be, right? First layer, you eliminate a bunch of things. Next layer, eliminate some more things. Next layer, eliminate more things. And you start getting closer and closer to the highest probabilities. So most likely I am, based on the time of day, based on how I'm dressed, based on the fact that I'm just here, like, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of information. Like I'm here, like just laid out like this. I wouldn't do this in a store. So probability is going to be very high that I am at home. Um, and then you could use other information to figure out like what room in the house and blah blah blah. But that's what I'm seeing in terms of what I feel how the neural networks work. Um, but ultimately, what I'm coming to the conclusion I'm coming to is that I feel like I learn much better with the video format. Because I'm having a hard time with this. Like I don't want to read this stuff. I'm just being completely honest. Chapter 4, algorithms. I want to build something. Um, so I don't know. But again, I feel like the way that the book is worded, maybe not connecting with me. Because again, I just gave you how I see things. I see things based on probability, but I don't see those words being used here. The words that are being used in this book, I'm not really connecting with. So again, there's that emptiness of what I'm reading. It's it difficult to invest in it because it's kind of like, what is the point? The words aren't connecting. Um, so I don't know. I have to accept that. It's also the end of the day. Maybe I'm tired too. But no. But I've been struggling with this from the beginning when I started reading this book. I've learned more from watching videos and from me actually, like you saw my first video, building the actual product. I feel now this hasn't been a waste of time because some of my understanding of the concepts of machine learning came from reading the book. So some of this knowledge is sinking in, but a lot of it I feel like it's not. Like I'll read an entire paragraph and I'm just like, what did I just read? Like what? And again, it's not that I don't understand it. It's just that it's just not. It's just I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I just keep doing it. Now I'm looking at something here which seems to connect with what I just said to you guys. Now I haven't read this far, but this actually seems to be relevant to what I was just saying. So I'm going to read it. So it says, when it looks at the next classification shape, it determines that the shape is round. Apples, oranges, and peaches are all round, but strawberries are not. Finally, it will look at the size in diameter. In this prediction, the fruit is wow. So maybe those are the layers. So it's well, it's still breaking it down ultimately to a shorter list of what the object most likely is. But I think the way that it's breaking it down changes based on the layer, because like they're illustrating here, um, based on the shape, so it's round. Okay, so what kinds of fruits are round, or what kind of objects are round? So a list of round objects, right? And in that list is apples, oranges, and peaches, right? Um, then it looked further in, so it said in this prediction, the fruit is 3 inches in diameter. This could now be an apple, an orange, a peach, or a pomegranate. Once all the different characteristics are considered, it will assign a percentage of probability that the fruit is from several classes, that the one with the highest percentage being the one most likely to fit the set of parameters. It's actually interesting. This I understand. It's like some of the other stuff before that I was reading didn't make sense to me. Um, I don't want to say it didn't make sense to me because really feel it's a not connecting thing. It's like I was reading pointless words. Here it says probability of an apple 80%, probability of an orange 10%, probability of a strawberry 5%, and so on. And that's what I was illustrating before. So how does it figure out that it's an apple? It figures out it's an apple by doing probability. What is the likelihood that it's an apple versus an orange versus a strawberry? And basically this object is giving more points towards it being an apple. It's got the color of an apple, it's got the size of an apple, it's got the this of an apple. It's got a lot of stuff from an orange, but not as much, as apple. And strawberry definitely, like that's only 5% because strawberry being much smaller, different shape, and that's kind of how these algorithms work. So I don't know. I'm gonna keep at it. I'm trying to scan through because actually, like, I like this section that I'm reading now. I'm trying to skip through because maybe what I'm reading is a bunch of, um, sort of, fundamental knowledge. They kind of give you the background, and maybe my brain is very, again, task oriented, right? So I need to get to the task oriented knowledge. Like when you're telling me about this whole probability thing of the apple and orange, that's a fundamental concept of how machine learning works, and that's the kind of stuff that I need. Now, when you're, let me go back, see if I can get back to the section I was reading before. When you start talking about stuff like discriminatory feed forward models used to classify data, unsupervised training used to reconstruct the input and pre-train other models, recurring models used for sequencing, speech recognition, sentiment analysis, reinforcement learning used for like a bunch of bullet points. Like, what am I going to do with that? How is that going to help me build something? It is clear that the algorithms and techniques used in deep learning make it possible for machines to find patterns and analyze. I don't know. It's just, I don't know, guys. I'm gonna keep at it, but I'm gonna start skipping forward, and maybe I'll get to better sections that I connect with best. Fortunately, there hasn't been too much math because I'm not good at math. Um, it's all. Oh, wait a minute. Is that the whole book? Oh, it's only 40. I'm reading a 40. I'm reading a 47-page book. I'm reading. This thing is only 47 pages long. Wow, that's how much I'm struggling. That's how much I'm struggling. But just so I can get some, just so I can feel good about myself again. I got books. You want pages? I got pages. Look at this. Look at this. Machine learning, 45 pages. Code complete, which I haven't been reading, by the way. It's so many pages, and then it's I only have it in a book. One thing I also discovered is I don't know if paper books are good for me anymore because I mean this book is heavy. I'm not gonna carry this thing around, and then me sitting down. I don't know. It's just like if I want to read before bed, I want digital, right? Because I turn off the lights and stuff, and I can read from the tablet. But I don't know. It just doesn't work for me. Everybody's different, right? And when am I going to be sitting and reading all this stuff? Exit Loop. This is a good book. I want to read this. I suck at reading. I suck at reading. Oh, man. I just want to watch videos. I just want to watch videos. I want somebody to show me. Like, wow. Well, whatever works, right? Whatever works. If that's what I don't want to completely discount reading, but um, it's really not. It's something that's not really working for me. So I don't know. I'll figure it out. Anyway, I'm rambling. So now I gotta. It's 47 pages. Wow. I'm gonna. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna actually. I'll read a little bit more of the machine learning book, which is machine learning. By the way, this is the book. It's Machine Learning: The Absolute Beginner's Guide to Learn and Understand. I guess it's cut off. I'll read a little bit of that, and then I'm gonna actually read the coding book. Um, I'm gonna skim through and try to get to a section that connects with me in terms of something that I want to focus on. Um, so find the sections of value rather than spend a lot of time reading about things I don't care about, which is what I probably was doing here. So, anyway, guys, let me get to it and then get to bed. It is local time 10:38. I'm trying to get back my sleep. I've been working late in the night and then getting up early and then it's just killing all. I'm trying to learn all this stuff. So I'm gonna shut this stream down and read some machine learning, read some of the book, and then call it a night. All right, guys. Ah, yeah, I completely burned out last week. I lost a lot of time. I was pushing so hard that I just got to the point where um, I just I couldn't just it's you get into this procrastination and then you don't want to do anything. And yeah, that's just, but if you want to really get maximum results, you got to really be able to push yourself really hard, and that means potentially going over the limits. Um, Unfortunately, that comes with the territory. So the point is, you want to ideally you want to avoid going too far, but again, as I said before in previous videos, in order for you to figure out how do you figure out what your limits are? It's hard to figure out what your limits are without crossing them, right? Because you know your limits when you fall over, and you start getting the consequences of going too far. So the only way to get the maximum effort or to find out what your maximum potential is, you have to risk going too far to the point where you've got to rein yourself in and take a break and take a breather and gather yourself. It's the same thing in racing. I'm into motorcycle racing. If you're not willing to push hard enough to the point where you might lose traction, I'm not saying you got to crash to learn, but definitely you're not going to become a championship motorcycle racer without ever losing traction, right? You're going to have to, if you really want to be the best on the track, you have to push to the limits to the point where you push too far to the point where you start sliding. Now, ideally, you don't want to slide to the point where you crash, but you do end up in a situation where you slide where you don't want to slide, and then you gotta settle in and recover from that, and then you learn that okay, so that's what it feels like when you get to the limits. So you gotta learn your limits so you can avoid the limits. So um, that's what I did. I went too far, and now I had to back up, and now I got to ramp it back up again. And ideally, machine learning. This is human learning. This is what machine learning does, right? I didn't get the results that I wanted because I went too far, so my productivity went down. So I learned from that. So then, when I go back again to the next layer, um, I will I will adjust, and keep making adjustments until I get the intended results, right? Anyway, guys, that's it. Oh man, that was an uncomfortable position to be in. Ah, my shoulder. Wow. Dobre noche. Buenas noches. Vigets. Bonjour. Salut. Arrivederci.